Welcome to the relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. This Friday, south of the border, in what is another Matchroom in Mexico show, Erika Cruz of Mexico will be taking on America's own Melissa Oddessa Parker.
Southpaw versus Southpaw.
The difference being that while Melissa Oddessa Parker may have the right base style for the job, there are serious questions about her experience level in the pro ranks. She's 3 years older than Erika Cruz, but it's Erika who's got more pro experience. It's Erika who has comparatively fought the better fighters.
More rounds in the bank.
She may not have the stylistic advantage, but you have to give her the edge in terms of experience and home field advantage.
Don't forget, she's the house fighter. She's the one with Matchroom.
Sporting a professional record of 15 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 3 knockouts.
Having never been knocked out in 17 professional bouts.
Coming right off that loss in what was the undisputed featherweight title fight with none other than Amanda Serrano. This fight with Melissa Oddessa, this fight for Erika, is intended to be a rebound fight.
She's on the bounce.
She's on the rebound, looking to rebound off that loss to Amanda many months ago. The same applies to Melissa Oddessa Parker, but unlike Erika, Melissa has seen action very recently.
Melissa, who sports a professional record of 6 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 2 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 7 professional bouts. That lone defeat.
That took place in her last fight, not but a few weeks ago, opposite the ring, Texas's own Sharita Metcalf. Bit of a controversial loss to me. I saw that fight.
Sharita spent the majority of that fight on her bicycle, on the run. It was Melissa Oddessa stepping into her jab, coming forward, and pressing the issue.
Being the busier puncher, the more prolific puncher of the two, that took place just a few weeks ago towards the tail end of July.
In that fight, Melissa Oddessa had to try to press the issue against an opponent that's moving lateral and moving away from the action.
This Friday's fight, she's going to be facing an opponent that's moving towards it. A mid-range to inside pressure fighter and a southpaw, like herself.
It's going to be the exact opposite of what she had to deal with a little over a month ago with Sharita.
With Erika, who last saw action towards the beginning of this year back in February.
She's been out a little longer.
Erika Cruz is a handful, and Melissa Oddessa is going to have her hands full this Friday opposite the ring of her. Melissa Oddessa, a boxer puncher.
Good amateur background, not that experienced in the pros though.
Not as experienced as Erika Cruz. Melissa Oddessa can box from the outside or bang on the inside.
She's not limited to fighting at just one range.
Often shows a good variety of punches. Punches to the head, hooks to the body, uppercuts up the middle.
She's got good feet too.
You notice those pivots, those shifts. She's gonna need those.
Yeah.
In what has all the makings of an action fight between 2 action fighters, 2 punchers with respectable power, Erika Cruz, I would say, is the more explosive fighter of the 2.
With the better engine.
Not just because she's more experienced as a professional than Melissa Oddessa, but because she's from Mexico City, hailing from high altitude. Any fighter from Mexico City can likely throw punches and bunches from the opening round to the final round. Her base style mirrors that of her nephew, Isaac Cruz.
She's partial to throwing big looping shots, looping hooks.
She's not the kind of fighter you want to trade punches with for too long. Spend an extended amount of time mid-range to inside in the pocket, as that's what Erika wants. That's where she wants to be, and that's where she does her best work.
Melissa has to keep her out.
Pump out that jab and stay behind it. Shoot the upper if Erika Cruz manages to get past it.
Erika has a propensity to fight at a slight crouch, bending at the waist, bending at the knees, bobbing and weaving as she comes forward.
Stylistically, Melissa Oddessa has the advantage, and she's got the right feet for this assignment.
Though it can't be close.
She has to make it definitive, decisive. She has to make it emphatic. Opposite the ring, Erika Cruz, who's not only the house fighter,
She's the matchroom fighter.
she's got home field advantage as well. This fight is taking place south of the border in Mexico, and Erika is a Mexican national and a prolific puncher, a busy puncher, so it's an uphill battle for the American.
Erika's got some things working for her.
She's durable too. She went the distance with Amanda Serrano, the featherweight division's biggest puncher, in what was an all-action shootout between 2 very busy punchers. Hard punchers. and she didn't go down. She didn't go out.
Melissa's strong. Melissa's a strong puncher, though there's not much chance that she knocks out Erica Cruz. If Amanda Serrano couldn't do it, I don't think Melissa can.
What she can do is keep Erica Cruz moving. Keep her moving and don't let her set her feet. Don't just sit there and trade with her.
Standing in front of her.
Melissa's best weapon in this fight are her feet, her movement.
Use those pivots.
It's an uphill battle. It really is. And it's a tough fight to call because Melissa does come from a great amateur background. She does have the right base style for the job, but Erica's got the better engine and she is more experienced.
This fight is being billed as a super featherweight contest, one division north of featherweight.
I don't think Melissa Oddessa has ever even fought there.
Nope.
This will be the heaviest she's ever weighed for a fight in the pro ranks. I think this will be the heaviest Melissa's ever weighed.
She normally campaigns all the way down there at 118.
Is that 3 divisions south of super feather where this contest is taking place?
I feel like this fight is going to have shades of the Maria Cecilia Roman fight that Melissa Oddessa had over a year ago.
That was a close fight. That was a hard fight for Melissa.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm more a fan of Melissa Oddessa than I am Erica Cruz, but this Friday, I am leaning towards Erica.
I'm leaning towards Erica Cruz on points because she's the house fighter, because she's got home field advantage, because she's a busier puncher and a naturally bigger woman than Melissa Oddessa.
If Melissa wins, then great. I'd be happy for her, and I'd love to see her pull it off, but I'm not convinced she can. I think it's gonna be close enough that they give it to Erica.
In men's light heavyweight news, Dmitry Bivol's manager does not expect the Canelo rematch to ever happen, to ever take place.
It does look like Canelo Alvarez has moved on. His next few fights look to be happening on the PBC side of things, whereas Dmitry is still with Matchroom.
Vadim Kornilov, Dmitri's manager, explains that his fighter was ready and willing to take part in a second fight, but it didn't come off. On the other hand, the veteran manager never saw the point of Canelo doing a rematch anyway. Canelo mentioned Dmitri's name on many occasions as the most prioritized opponent, and instead he fought with others like Gennady Golovkin and John Ryder. He constantly mentioned that he wanted to take revenge, but in fact, he did not want it. Politically and from a sporting point of view, he's not interested in a second fight, Kornilov told Ivan Oraklov.
Well, you overplayed your hand.
It's not that Canelo and his team didn't try to do the rematch, didn't revisit that fight. They did.
Yeah.
But they were at odds with Team Bivol over certain aspects of the deal. It seems like the Dmitry Bivol people felt that because Dmitry won the first fight so dominantly, he should have some entitlements.
Dmitry wanted the fight at 168 for Canelo's belts, whereas Canelo wanted the fight to happen at 175
Where the first fight took place.
for Dimitri's belts.
Seems like that was a stumbling block. Vadim Kornilov continued, Canelo lost almost every single round in the first fight with Dmitry Bivol. He looked too insecure, and objectively, I don't see what sense he can find to do a rematch. We received nothing from him, except the words at the press conference. We were waiting to do the rematch.
I agree with Vadim Kornilov on this much. I don't see a point in the second fight. I don't see the point in a rematch. It's clear to me now that Canelo Alvarez don't belong at light heavyweight.
He doesn't have the frame. He doesn't have the necessary physical dimensions to carry the weight evenly and still be effective.
At least in part, why Dmitry Bivol was able to thoroughly outbox Canelo Alvarez. He had the right base style for the job. He had the skills for the assignment.
But he also had the size, the durability for the assignment. Taller guy with longer arms, longer legs make for longer strides.
Right.
Bouncing in and out of range behind straight punches.
Able to get in and get out.
Goes in, lands a couple of shots, and before Canelo Alvarez knows it, he's out of striking distance because he's a taller, longer guy with longer legs that make for longer strides. Tack on that he is a light heavyweight. He's durable.
Stylistically, he's a defensively responsible fighter, but because he's a light heavyweight, it's that much harder for Canelo to put a dent in this guy.
Big guy, or at least a bigger guy than Canelo Alvarez, with more height, more length, and more reach, fighting on the balls of his feet, bouncing in and out of striking distance, durable enough to take Canelo Alvarez's best punches, his best shots, whenever he could get a shot in. It was a stylistic nightmare for Canelo Alvarez.
He's too small for light heavyweight.
Too small for that division. He's already smaller than most super middleweights, let alone light heavyweights.
too small.
So like Vadim Kornilov, I agree. There's no point in Canelo revisiting a Dmitry Bivol fight, a rematch. There's no point in going back up to 175. If he did, he'd be biting off more than he could chew. He should stay put. He should stay at 168. Though as far as what happened, why their rematch fell apart,
Vadim ain't gonna tell the whole story. Vadim ain't gonna say it, but I will. Him and Dmitry overplayed their hand.
you're not Canelo Alvarez. Even if you did win the first fight, you're not the one in the driver's seat. You're not the one in control. And you don't have the abundance of options that Canelo has. Canelo was able to walk away from the rematch.
He could afford to, but could you?
There's a line around the block of guys that would love to fight Canelo Alvarez anywhere in between 154 and 175. Dmitry Bivol does not have that same abundance of options. So where you might feel that he should be entitled to certain things in a second fight, unless you put that in the contract, it don't matter.
I always get a little bit of pushback when I say that, but it's the truth. Unless you put that in the contract for the first fight,
Whatever you think Dmitry Bivol should be entitled to, unless it's on paper, it's not actionable, and it doesn't matter.
they overplayed their hand. They wanted the rematch at 168 for Canelo's belts, where Canelo wanted the rematch at 175. They stood on their square, and they paid for it.
He moved on.
You can say that Dimitri's not the one that needs redemption. He's not the one that needs the rematch, but he is the one that needs a fight.
He's the one that needs a fight, isn't he? We're 9 months into this year, and he hasn't fought yet. They tried for Joshua Buatsi, they tried for Dan Aziz, more recently they tried for Lyndon Arthur.
Artur better beef's busy. He's supposed to fight Callum Smith early next year.
You can say that Dmitry Bivol's not the one that needs redemption between him and Canelo Alvarez, but you know what he is?
What?
He is the one that needs a fight, because Canelo's got plenty of fights lined up, but what about Dmitry?
So did he really make the right decision? Or is it like I said, and he overplayed his hand?
I'm not telling you he's not a man hard done. He is a man hard done by the division that keeps swerving him and the industry.
He's fallen through the cracks.
But perhaps if they would have been more negotiable for that Canelo Alvarez rematch, he would have had a fight this year. He would have had a fight by now.
Guys, and they're fighting each other, and it's a crossover event. Years ago I covered Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor, but these are the big men. The two big tribes go to war, yeah?
Is it bigger?
Of course it's bigger. They're bigger. It's bigger. Champions collide. They're not. They're a different trajectory to those two. It's a different, every fight's different, every promotion's different. But this is enormous. It's got the backing of a government event. You know, it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
It can be big, it can be huge, but is it actually bigger than Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. when we all know that Francis Ngannou was not to the UFC what Conor McGregor was, and Tyson Fury certainly isn't to boxing what Floyd was. Floyd was the top draw in the sport, gracing the Forbes list many times due to his drawing power, whereas Tyson Fury...
There are only two pugilists, only two active boxers on the current Forbes list for the top earning athletes irrespective of their sport. One is Canelo and the other is Anthony Joshua, not Tyson Fury.
So where do you get that this is bigger than MAYMAC was? Oh, maybe the men are bigger because, you know, they're actually bigger guys. They're heavyweights, but the size and scale of the event and the fanfare...
I'm not telling you it's small potatoes or it's not going to sell anything. I don't know what it's going to sell. What I do know is Francis Ngannou doesn't have Conor McGregor's following and Tyson Fury doesn't have Floyd Mayweather's following.
If Francis Ngannou were to the UFC what Conor McGregor was, Dana White would have met all his demands.
He would have given him what he wanted, and they never would have split. They never would have parted ways if he were the draw that Conor was, but he's not.
Tyson Fury is not the top-earning athlete, is not the top-earning pugilist in the sport.
And he's losing fans fast.
He's losing what fans he has had in the sport of boxing because he's saying he has no interest in fighting contenders. He's strictly fighting for the biggest bank.
So where does the undisputed fight sit then? Is it not priority anymore given what it took to kind of...
Has it ever been my priority? Did I ever say I wanted undisputed? It's always been some other little bitch's dream, hasn't it? Undisputed, road to undisputed. Listen, I got Francis Ngannou to deal with, and should the other little sausage want to fight for the undisputed, then, you know, if he takes a small percentage, then we might make it happen. But if he wants a large bag, then I'm going to say, no thank you.
Tyson Fury's stock in pugilism is dropping based on comments like that and practices like this because he's not a retired fighter making a few bucks on the side. He's a sitting champion. The people in boxing, the people that pay to see it, that have paid to see him in the past. They want to see him in there with a capable boxer, not Francis Ngannou.
The money that he's getting for the match, it's not necessarily coming from them. It's not coming from the fans. It's coming from the Saudi Arabian investors.
And so long as they're willing to invest in him and invest in these kinds of shows, he can make a lot of bank for not taking a lot of risks. Mayweather versus McGregor brought in approximately 4.3 million pay-per-view buys in the American market.
It's the second highest selling pay-per-view of all time.
Now, I don't know what Fury versus Ngannou is going to do at the box office. I mean, I really don't, because as far as boxing fans go, I don't know how many boxing fans want to shell out $60 or $80 in this economy to see him play Dancing Bear.
I don't know.
But I don't think this sells 4.3 million pay-per-view buys. No.
At $80 a pop, like Mayweather-McGregor did.
I don't think so. Even with it being a transatlantic pay-per-view, because I believe it's not just a pay-per-view here in America, it's also a pay-per-view in the UK. But in the UK, the price point is much lower than it is here in America. Whereas here in America, Floyd and Conor sold 4.3 million pay-per-views.
I don't think Fury versus Ngannou is going to top that. I don't think it's going to come close.
I don't. That doesn't mean it can't sell something. That doesn't mean it can't be successful in its own right. But when you say something is bigger is a description. If this is bigger than MAYMAC, in what way is it bigger?
It's not bigger just because these are bigger men, because these are heavyweights and those guys weren't.
That's not what makes a show a big show. What makes a fight a big fight. What makes a big fight is a big gate, big pay-per-view buys, big fanfare.
Big crowd participation. Take Inoue versus Fulton, for example, in Japan. In spite of that being a fight between 222-pounders, two little men.
That fight had more of a profile than the upcoming fight with Yanni Beck and Vincenzo Gualtieri, their middleweight unification match. In spite of these two guys being bigger than Stephen Fulton and bigger than Naoya Inoue, they don't have bigger fanfare. It's not bigger crowd reaction, thus, it's not a bigger fight.
Fans are what make the fights big.
But leave it to Gareth A. Davies to oversell it. Gareth A. Davies, who much like Simon Jordan on Talk Sport, is just another arm of Queensberry Promotions. He promotes Tyson Fury just as much as Frank Warren does.
If not more.
Sad state of affairs in boxing media, what punditry has become. It's all about brown-nosing in order to gain access. That's the game that's being played now.
The dichotomy has changed.
Though all the same. In spite of what Gareth A. Davies is saying, I sincerely doubt that this fight is on the scale of Mayweather versus McGregor.
Whatever it does.